Storytelling. Storytelling. What is storytelling? Well, storytelling is universal to the human experience and cuts across all cultures. Storytelling allows us to share things, share moments, share experiences, and even share traumas that have happened to each of us over time. There are many stories to be told, old stories, new stories, and stories of what's to come. Today, we've invited a myriad of brilliant writers and storytellers who have joined us to share stories of who they are, stories of their dreams, and stories of their hopes for the future. These stories are stories of transformation. These stories are stories of mental health. These stories are stories of resilience, stories of adventure, and better yet, stories of what's to come. Welcome to The Power of Our Stories, brought to you by the HOPE Center, where healing takes center stage. Now, give a warm digital welcome in the chat to our hosts for today, Dr. Lena Green and Dr. Sydney Hankerson.
Good morning and happy Black History Month.
Storytelling is the act of sharing or writing our own narratives.
These traditions have been passed down for centuries and have preserved us, guided us, and allowed us to share our perspectives about the world we live in. We tell our stories with voice, gestures, and movement. It is as old as time itself. For Black people, we've told our stories through chants, through song, poetry, rhymes, rap, imagery, and prayer.
Our stories help us make sense of the world. It is an outlet for how we experience this life and a container for how we feel. It is an opportunity to express our truth and our ability to persevere. Our stories helped our ancestors survive, and it is a story of resilience.
We hope that over the next hour, you will be encouraged, enlightened, emboldened, and empowered. Welcome to The Power of Our Stories. Drew, tell us about resilience.
Dr. Lena asked, what is resilience? And to me, resilience is soul food. When Granny passed, there was no one left to sprinkle love into our Sunday dinners. We sat around living room tables, stuffing our faces with memories of how she was able to slide all that seasoning to the mac and cheese and those collard greens. We wondered, who gonna bring the cornbread now? Wondered, whose turn was it to take shots at dark walls like darts and try to make grandma's sweet potato pie again, the fried chicken? It lost its crunch in the end. And we kept finding eggshells in our version of your classic potato salad. It left our palates simmering on the question of what happened to the soul food. Because we can't make it the way Granny used to. You told me, baby, now make sure you follow that recipe. So now I cook with cookbooks of our past conversations, because you told me that love and pain are sometimes too hard to write down. I didn't realize till now that you use your life experiences as your cooking instruments. When you taught me how to make mac and cheese, you said, now first, baby, get you a deep baking dish, a dish that could withstand high temperatures and come out that fire dancing. And Drew, I know you, so don't mess with the plastic. And when I think of you, you're nothing mere of a classic, a woman with a wide capacity of wisdom and understanding. And yeah, you've been burned a couple times, but you never wore those scars on your sleeves for the master to see. You told me the next ingredient you need, elbow macaroni. So I ran and bought a couple of boxes. But the pasta remind me of times when grandpops used your face as his boxing bag. It was sad how a pair of fists could constantly shatter the rain house of beauty God placed inside when God created you. You had rain gutters clogged from macaroni-shaped tears that dried on their own behind closed doors. When the sun went down, it appears. And just like mac and cheese, you said, well, babe, don't worry about your granddaddy. You know, we as people all got our layers. So don't forget the butter. See, you made it cool to be Southern. And us Southern folks know that butter is like God's miracle elixir to keep everything flowing together. When I started dating, you told me, don't you get seduced by the Northern girl love potion called olive oil. And I get you a Southern belle who know butter is better. A girl gonna cook and give you something to hold on to during the winter. And wintertime was known for grandma's snow cream right for those good old Sunday dinners. You had me comfortable with sweet tooths Like warm soup on life's cold days, prefer Big Mama over that Campbell soup to soothe you, often want a granny. Now, how are you a deaconess in the church and you know voodoo? I mean, how you had us entranced by how you danced on this kitchen floor to a jazz band of ingredients and this family musicians. You were the heartbeat, the drummer that kept everything consistent. But when you went missing, this family band, we fell apart. We couldn't figure out what song we were playing. And we always wanted to be one band with one sound, but all I hear now is, baby, go back to the recipe. And it's funny, the last ingredient list is the cheese because it starts in the heart, and you were the block that bleeds over everything. You brought consistency. You taught the other ingredients how to love, how to pray, how to breathe, how to stand. After life gives you a blow to the face and just find your way to keep on dancing, I will always remember your last answer. Now, baby, you're going to know your work is done when you get to see that melted golden cheese. So I've become a master at cooking soul food, as y'all can see. I'm constantly cooking all of Granny's favorite recipes, but it's not about the food anymore. See, I cook and I pray and I breathe for one last second with all your famous memories. Ashe.
Ashe Drew. Thank you for those powerful words and all of the ingredients that it takes to remember our ancestors, keep the legacy alive with love.
I mean, he painted such an amazing picture. So thank you for that, Drew. The story of the Black community is the story of resilience. We have overcome so much. And when we think about what resilience means, it typically is defined as overcoming difficult circumstances. We as a community have overcome so much. Resilience makes me think back to our ancestors under the toil of the southern sun. Resilience makes me think of the Great Migration to our great northern cities. Resilience makes me think of saying no to the dogs that chased us. And resilience makes me think of overcoming the trauma of this last 2 years. We wanted to take a time to acknowledge some of the mental health challenges that folks in our community may have experienced, and especially some of the suicides that have been so visible over the last several weeks. But what gives me hope today is our history of resilience, our trust that we will overcome and be resilient in this moment, and our knowledge that tomorrow will bring a brighter day. So with that, we would like to see Ty Bouchon and Chef Marcus.
Hey there, Hope Center. I am Ty Beauchamp, and happy Black History Month. I'm delighted to share with you one of my favorite books. I have it right here, Until Today by Iyanla Vanzant. And one of the reasons it is one of my favorite books is because Emil Wilbekin gifted me this book on Christmas 2012. But furthermore, it's a book that I read from every single day to set my tone, my energy, and my spirit after prayer.
What's up, everybody? Chef Marcus Samuelson here from the Red Rooster. Happy Black History Month to everybody at the Hope community. So a book that really inspired me was Malcolm X by Alex Haley. Reading his book as a teenager really was inspiring for so many different reasons. I love sort of when Malcolm changes. I love to read his story coming from Boston to down to New York, and specifically the Harlem part. So that would be a book that I recommend. I know it's not new, but for me, it's a classic, and it's really a powerful read. All right.
Thank you, Ty, and thank you, Chef Marcus, for those brilliant moments that you share with us about the books that inspire you. So next up, we have an author coming to you who is part of our Hope Center family, J.R. McDonald. And he is also going to be joining us as a regular feature with the Hope Center for Think It, Say It, Do It. J.R., over to you.
Hello, family. I am J.R. McDonald, empowerment speaker and transformational author. I'm excited to be with you discussing the power of our stories. I am from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I live in New York City for over 10 years. And, with my deep Southern roots, it's one of those things. And, being in Louisiana, having that upbringing, very Southern, has been one of those experiences that you have to embed in yourself the language, what's necessary so that you can go and glow as you grow. I felt that I needed the language to do that. So I would journal often. I would write letters to myself and just kind of remind myself of my possibilities and all that I'm seeing and all that is around me. So I first wrote my book, Get Lifted, in 2018 was when it was published. And it was the opportunity to give others like myself the same type of language that you can use in your lowest moments. Because sometimes, let's be honest, we have been through some times that have been roller coasters. It's been ups and downs. And in those down moments, you don't need to be your own worst enemies. But I've been my own worst enemy before, and I needed that language, those definitions, not what others have told me in the past or what they've said to me that was belittling or that made me feel lesser than, but I needed that language that reminded me that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, that reminded me that I have greatness within me. So Get Lifted is that book. It was that book for me, and I hope, and I've heard from others, it's that book for them that is the short reads. It's a daily devotional that allows you to dedicate time and devotion to you, empowering yourself, remaining hopeful, remaining in a space that is fulfilling to your journey. So one of the quotes in my book is, "Speak what you seek until you have seen all that you said." And what we realize is that our words matter, our words matter, our words matter. And we know this because if we see in history, many times, whether it's oration, whether it's by song, it has a lasting impact. And these are one of the things that I found is so important and relevant to our community is that it lives on. You can always look back to a song or a book and understand what was happening during that time. And that's the same idea that I would hope for our community as you read or, unpack, Get Lifted, is that in the process, you will feel yourself becoming lighter and lighter as you're rising along with each and every day. It's 100 days of change. It's a season because we go through different seasons. It's how do you get through your seasons with the vocabulary and the language to catapult you to higher heights and deeper depths. So the inspiration of it came from, thinking about words that my mom, grandmother, dad, and people in my village would tell me, putting it in a book, words that I've heard along the way. And, even in my darkest moments, what did I need to tell myself, or what did I wish I heard? What did I wish I knew more about? And it was that. It was these words and Get Lifted. So there are power in your words. There's power in our stories. And take a moment to invest in you and get a return on that investment.
All right, JR, thank you for that. And thank you for that wonderful reminder, right? Because one of the most powerful stories is the stories that we tell ourselves every single day, right? And Dr. Hankinson, even though we're mental health clinicians, we also experience days when we are not at our best. So what are some of the things that you do to keep yourself lifted?
First of all, Dr. Green, you're absolutely right. I love what the author said about the power of our stories and the importance of words. So something that I do is try to do positive self-talk, telling myself that despite whatever adversity I'm facing, that I'm going to overcome, that I'm ultimately going to reach my goal. And especially in community, we can do whatever we aspire to.
Indeed. And some of those words that we use at FCBC are, I am powerful, I am unshakable, and I am adaptable. So think about the words that you tell yourself every day that allow you to get lifted and move through with positivity. So next up, we have an author coming to us from across the globe. We are delighted to have an author that is joining us who focuses on our littlest humans. Dr. Boyd, take it away.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Melissa Boyd. I'm a psychologist and an author of children's books. Today, I'll be sharing Bees for Breathe, which is my first children's book, and I'm really excited to read a portion of it. As a psychologist, I am a huge advocate for mental health and overall wellness. And so what inspired writing this book is that I have 3 children, so there's lots of emotions in my home. And just in working with children and families, I notice just the need for having healthy coping skills that are promoted. And so I wanted to provide that through pictures and through words. And so the idea of writing Bees for Breathe and presenting it as a picture book, the intent is that children, whether reading with an adult, would that be a parent or a teacher or just a caretaker, that they can learn these skills. And then if just picking up the book on their own, that they can look through the pictures and hopefully identify a skill that works for them when they are having a particular feeling that is fussy or frustrating or just overall a big emotion. I really think this book is applicable to any environment, whether it's at home or at school. And then just in the current times, whether it's managing COVID or some of the changes that are going on in schools, kids shifting from virtual or being in person, there's lots of emotions that children go through. Often it can be the view of an adult that kids are just fine and they're moving along, and kids are quite resilient, but it's really important that they're also gaining healthy coping skills and having healthy outlets for how they're feeling during this time. And so my hope is that within communities, within homes, that these are skills that are not just discussed, but also applied. And many adults have even shared that the book has helped them to see what works when they're having particular emotions. I know for myself, I enjoy running, I enjoy praying, I enjoy reading. But for my kids, it's all different. Some are into art, some enjoy games, others enjoy reading. And so it's really helpful to see what works best for you. And so I'm hoping that this story can really empower children we all have coping skills and sometimes they're just not healthy, whether that can be leading into anger issues or substance abuse, or even just some of the behaviors that we have. Sometimes anything we do too much can be unhealthy. That can be eating behaviors or even how we work, our work ethic, something that's too much time can be unhealthy. And so I'm really hoping to empower our future to identify healthy coping skills so that they're well equipped for stressors that may present themselves. So if it's all right, I'll just share a portion of Bees for Breathe. And the title is Bees for Breathe, the ABCs of Coping with Fussy and Frustrating Feelings. And I was really intentional in the book about making it diverse, but then also highlighting brown children. Sometimes the books that we are in, we might not be the focus point, and it's important that we see ourselves represented well in children's stories and picture books. So I will start towards the middle. I went to Hampton University, and so I wanted to give a shout out. I loved my time at Hampton, and so and I also wanted to highlight what I do, which is a psychologist. So hopefully you can see that all right. So the letter T, each letter in the book has a different coping skill identified. The letter T is talk about feelings. And so sharing feelings and talking with a trusted person can help to feel better. The letter U, which my children don't like this one too much, but the letter U is for unplug electronics. Taking a break from electronics can help to relax the mind. Then we also have V is for create a vision board. Create pictures and words to express feelings and also think about future goals. The W, which is write about feelings. So journaling to express emotions, communicate feelings, and also to solve problems. We have X. This was quite a difficult letter to come up with, but I wanted to incorporate music because it can definitely be very therapeutic, but X is for play the xylophone and other musical instruments. Enjoy playing a musical instrument that is joyful and fun. Y is for yoga. So yoga relaxes the mind and also releases tension from the body. And then the last letter is Z is for Z's or sleep, which getting good rest and taking a break helps to relax emotions. So that is a portion of B is for breathe. And again, each letter has a different coping skill that is identified throughout the book. So I really am thankful for this opportunity to share with you this book and just a little bit about kind of what went into it. I hope it's helpful for many communities, particularly the Harlem community. And I really enjoyed the time together today. Thank you.
We're so grateful for Dr. Boyd sharing her wisdom and her knowledge about coping. As a father of a 3-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, I know that I'm going to run out and buy that book. My daughter's favorite coping word is no. So, Dr. Green, I would love to know what's your favorite coping strategy?
Well, one of my favorite coping strategies is right along with the letter T. T is for talking to my therapist.
There we go.
Right? It's a great outlet. I enjoy it. And then also she talked about finding a trusted person to share your thoughts and feelings with. So that would be it for me.
Awesome. So we're just so grateful again for Dr. Boyd sharing her wisdom with that. We just wanted to take a moment to thank our sponsors and our supporters for supporting the power of our stories. Our sponsors are Empire Blue Cross and Blue Shield and the American Psychiatric Association Foundation. Thank you so much. And our key partners, the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, shout out to Sinai, and to the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So thank you to our sponsors and supporters. So now I really have the distinct pleasure to introduce Mr. Raul Andrews, who is the CEO of the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, who is one of our key sponsors. Before joining the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, Mr. Andrews was the president and CEO of AARP. And in the course of the last several months, I've learned of his passion for underserved communities, his passion for addressing mental health, his passion through the American Psychiatric Association Foundation of training the next generation of psychiatrists. And so we're really delighted that you took time from your extremely busy schedule to join us today. So Mr. Andrews, what does resilience, or what would you like to share with us about the power of stories this morning?
Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Green and Dr. Hankerson. They can have their Broadway. Give me Lenox Avenue. It is a privilege to be here on behalf of the APA family, the APA Foundation. Resilience to me is all about summoning the courage within, to know when you can go alone, but also to be vulnerable enough and to be authentic enough to know that there's no shame in asking for help if you need it. And so as we come to you with such a great program around the HOPE Center, one of the books that I have turned to that I won't read from, but just want to bring back to light is Dr. Eric Dyson's Tears We Cannot Stop. And the reason I come back to this book is given some of the tragic losses we've seen to shining stars, some of our under 30 shining stars who succumbed to suicide or attempted suicide. I woke up last weekend feeling somewhat defeated because stigma around mental health and well-being, stigma never takes a day off. And not one of us can be the John Henry or the Jessica Henry alone to beat stigma. It takes the power of all of us to say that we will defeat stigma. So as I round the bases, I want to say that 3 things I want to share with you, and I want to leave you with a spoken word. So here are 3 announcements from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation that we're going to bring to bear to defeat stigma. First of all, we have received our first grant from the Brave of Heart Fund to launch a nationwide multi-year campaign for reverse burnout and well-being across the spectrum of frontline healthcare workers. For too long in the pandemic, our frontline healthcare workers have had to keep showing up every day, and they haven't had the support and the services they need to make sure they can keep showing up every day and performing with excellence. And so our reverse burnout campaign is going to help them do that. Second, the Olympics just started last night, but we have seen over the last 2 years what our artists and our entertainers and our athletes are going through. And so we're going to launch a Where We Play initiative that will again be a nationwide initiative in front of the camera and behind the scenes, because we have to do more than just pay for a ticket and expect people are going to perform for us and not give them something back so that they're able to show up and achieve with excellence. And finally, for the first time in the history, the 30-year history of the APA Foundation, we're bringing a medical doctor into the staff. We're going to place our first director of psychiatric training and medical education, who's going to work with our now 173 resident fellows. These are early career psychiatrists. And we're going to take a preeminent program to the next level so that every time we have need, we have the professionals available to take care of those needs. Now, let's talk about stigma. Here's one verbal prescription to help us break the confidence code so that we can defeat stigma. And it goes as follows. I want more. I will accept nothing less. From this day forward, I will do whatever I have to do, legally, ethically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially, to crack the confidence code so that we can defeat stigma. It won't be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is. But I want more, and I will accept nothing less. I deserve more, and I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit it. Starting today, my drive for more, to be more, to see more, to do more will be demonstrated by my preparation, by my focus, and by my action. I want more. I will accept nothing less. Sometimes I'll have to go it alone to get it, but there's no shame in asking for help if and when it's needed. I will be grateful, but not beholden to any assistance I do receive in pursuit of my goal. I want more. I will accept nothing less. There is a confidence code, and it is helping stigma. Acknowledging that the code exists doesn't give it dominion and control over us. It is now a target that must be pursued relentlessly. The code is formidable, and again, stigma never takes a day off, but it is no match for our collective resolve. The code cannot win. It will be cracked. Stigma will be defeated, and we will become the well-beings that we deserve to be. I want more, and I will accept nothing less. Thank you, Dr. Green. Thank you, Dr. Hankerson. Thank you, Hope Center. Thank you, Pastor Mike. And as Dr. Michael Eric Dyson says, how can we make it through the long night of despair to the bright day of hope? Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the Hope Center. Happy Black History Month. The best way to celebrate Black History Month is by making some new Black history.
All right.
Amen.
Amen.
My goodness.
Wow.
Wow. That was so powerful and just so inspiring. And as we can think about adding to the story of stigma being eliminated and creating stories of recovery, of power, and resilience.
Absolutely. Stigma will be defeated. I'm going to add that to my one-liners now. Thank you, Raul.
Thank you so much.
So
now we have a very special guest.
Hey, Dr. Green, Dr. Hankerson. Listen, what's up, Hope Center family? And I hope you're enjoying today's power of our stories. Look, I got to tell you, too, this has been an amazing event thus far, and I am truly grateful to be a part of it. Listen, I'll be coming up a little bit later, family. But until then, the Hope Center is doing some amazing things There's some amazing things happening here at the Hope Center, and I'm so excited about it. And you can check out some of the upcoming events that are coming to the Hope Center right now.
Hey family, I hope that you're enjoying the power of our stories brought to you by the Hope Center, where healing takes center stage. I am Julius J.U. Jones, and yes, these are your Hope Center Harlem announcements. Think It, Say It, Do It, a new Hope Center series in partnership with author J.R. McDonald. Oftentimes, when we are not feeling our best, we tend to use words and language that are diminishing. This new series is here to remind us to laugh, dance, and use transformational words to catapult us to new dimensions. Are you ready to join the Think It, Say It, Do It movement? Change your words and change your life by tapping in on Friday, February 11th. Healing Conversations are back. Join the Hope Center on Thursday, March 3rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for a healing conversation entitled What We Lost During COVID. During this conversation, Dr. Green and guests will discuss the impact the pandemic has had on the seen and unseen. Save the date. Sunday, April 25th is Hope Center Sunday. Join the team as they celebrate all things hope and healing. This year's theme is abundance. See you there. Save the date and spread the word. The Hope Center is hosting its third annual Hope in Action fundraising and awards breakfast on Friday, June 10th at 10 a.m. The theme for this year is healing and community. Get ready for a transformative event at this year's hybrid experience. Well, that's it for now, Hope Center family. Remember to follow and stay in the know with all things Hope Center on social media. The Hope Center's crisis text line is still free, 24/7 and confidential. If you ever need someone to talk to, text Worthy to 741-741. That's Worthy to 741-741. Also, support Hope Center Harlem programming and mission through 2 easy ways to give. Whether you text to give or give via Hope Center's website, all donations support the good work of the Hope Center and are tax deductible. I am Julius J.U. Jones, and these were your Hope Center Harlem announcements. Back to you, Dr. Green and Dr. Hankerson.
Thank you, Julius. Make sure you stay tuned for Hope Center events. We have some good stuff coming up, especially for the month of Hope. We'll be celebrating all month long, so stay tuned for that. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our next guest, Sean Dove. He is not only a mentor to me, but a mentor to many in this field. He is the CEO for the Campaign for Black Male Achievement and has really been a pioneer in the field of serving Black men and boys. We've made some transformational work, made some incredible ground in this area, and really has supported a lot of work in the fatherhood movement, which many of you know that I'm a part of.
Yeah, we're really delighted to have Sean today and talking about his new book, which is fresh off the presses and really is bringing light on the courage and the resilience of our Black boys.
Sean, over to you.
Blessings, family. My name is Sean Dove, and I am the founder of the Corporation for Black Male Achievement. And I am also the author of a fabulous new book called I Too Am America, on loving and leading Black men and boys, co-authored with my longtime friend and creator and co-collaborator, Nick Childs. And I wanted just to begin with a poem that begins the introduction of this book. And the poem reads, "Whilst that poetry in motion, I stopped to look for a brother with ways to write a book. Arrange round me with a story to tell, a billion brothers who know all too well about unwritten words that unwillingly die before bred and bound and able to fly. Why do my brother's words wear weights of woe? My ears to the ground, I'm dying to know. We must give our words wings so they can sing. a song for all brothers they will bring. The ability to dream, to fly, and to soar, it's to you, my brother, these words are for. To give your words a life, you must sit and write your story with tales of what life is like. Do me a favor and set your words free, cause I need to hear them. Do it for me. I wrote that poem in 1988 when I was organizing a group of young men on the Upper West Side in a youth program called the Dome Project, where we combined basketball and poetry and writing and media literacy. And so I'm a recent author, but that was birthed inside of me for a long time. You know, Maya Angelou says that there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. So this was an act of liberation. This was an act of resiliency. This was an act of survival to tell my story. And not only is it my story of telling the story of the paradox of promise and peril for Black men and boys, but we tell the story of Jamari in Detroit. We tell the story of Romero in Oakland. And we tell their stories and the power of loving, leading Black men and boys. Because I believe we have to become masters of our own media. We can't wait for anyone to tell our stories. We have to tell our own stories. And I remember in my early adolescence, as a young man on the basketball team in the Dome Project, before we can go on the basketball court to practice, our coach had us read out loud in the circle. And one of the transformative books was Claude Brown's Man, Child, in the Promised Land. And after practice, we went, my homeboys and my teammates, we went to the corner and we hung out. But we were talking about Sonny. We were talking about Roz, the exhorter, inside the story of Man, Child, in the Promised Land. And it was in that youth, in that moment, where I developed the love of reading, writing, and storytelling. Why is that important for our community? I believe the best way to predict the future is to create it. And we create the future, and we can through our stories. Stories sow seeds. Stories can spark fires. Stories can settle in unrest. Stories can send your soul whatever it's seeking in the season that you're in. I Tomb America is a story about vulnerability. It's a story about resiliency. It's a story where I share my challenges. I share standing on the edge of the train tracks on 34th Street and Penn Station at the end of my addiction, planning to jump on the tracks. And if it were not for divine intervention, I would have jumped. But instead, I got on that train, headed uptown, and went to Veritas Therapeutic Community, and I've been clean for 33 years since. Somebody needs to hear that story, because somebody will see my courage, my resiliency, or see their courage and their resiliency inside of me. So stories are our gift spots. It's our God spot. It's our genius spot. It is our gold spot. And I just encourage you to get a copy of I Tomb America on loving and leading Black men and boys, so you might find yourself in my resilient, redemptive story.
Wow.
Amazing. A resilient, redemptive story. And Dr. Green, isn't it amazing that a man as accomplished as Sean Dove would be willing to be so transparent and share his story of addiction and recovery?
Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about the power of our stories, right? Because they are the stories of the individuals, but they are also our stories because they resonate with us. right? So thank you so much, Sean, for your transparency, because I know in doing that, someone got changed, someone got healed, and someone just got an opportunity. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I have the pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Ricky Day, who is a powerful and dynamic brother who is a teacher who inspires. He is a New York-based photographer and artist. He's a producer, a director, and he does it all. He has a podcast called Nothing to Lose But Yourself. So now we'll turn it over to Ricky.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Happy Black History Month. I'm Ricky Day. I'm a visual artist, filmmaker, and the host of the podcast, Nothing to Lose But Yourself. I'm an avid reader, and so it's hard to choose just one book that inspired me. But if I had to choose one, it would be Bell Hooks' All About Love. And what's most powerful about it for me is in the beginning, she shares M. Scott Peck's definition of what love is. And he describes love as the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. And that was so powerful for me because it helped me to be more clear about how to answer my call in both the creative space and in the faith space. And it really empowers my interaction with other human beings and with myself. So All About Love by Bell Hooks is really the book that inspired me.
Thank you, Ricky. I love the tagline there, all about love. And at the Hope Center, one of the things we try to do is also lead with love. So thank you for that. Next up, we have two special guests who are no strangers to the FCBC and Hope Center community. Emil is an award-winning journalist, media executive, stylist, former editor-in-chief for both Vibe and Giant Magazine. And also his talented fingers have already touched Essence and Afropunk. And then, as a daughter of Harlem, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the quintessential Harlem girl. That is Bevy Smith. She is currently an author, TV personality, and radio host, and also the founder of Dining with Bevy, which I'll be trying to get in on quite soon. She also plays Aunt Tammy on Amazon's original series entitled Harlem. So Bevy and Emil, take it away.
Happy Black History Month. I'm Bevy Smith, TV and radio host and also author. Thank you so much to the Hope Center for being such a guiding light and a beacon in our community. You know, mental health is something that has plagued our community for so long. And it's so good to know that the Hope Center is there to not only help lend an ear, but also to foster conversation and to give guidance. You know, I'm so excited to be a part of the stories that we're telling today. You know, our stories really do count. And one of the stories that has always inspired me is that of Andre Leon Talley, the late, great Andre Leon Talley. For many people, Andre Leon Talley was a beacon of fashion. He was, a guru of fashion. He was a fashion encyclopedia. But for me and for anyone who has the opportunity to read his book, The Chiffon Trenches, you will see that he is a man. He was a humble man. He was a devoted man to God, and he worshiped God every single Sunday. And he was also someone who wanted to give back. Andre came up from Jim Crow South and was able to scale the highest heights in fashion, from when he attended Brown University to when he got a job with the iconic Andy Warhol, to when he went to the playgrounds of fashion of Milan and Paris and London and Rome and made it his own way. From being the confidant to Karl Lagerfeld, to Yves Saint Laurent, to Diana Vreeland, all these people who are now cemented in the world of fashion. And Andre Leon Talley stands right there beside them. But this book tells you how he got to stand there and how oftentimes he was the only one of his kind. And what it took for Andre to be able to actually go through all of these trials and tribulations and come out standing, to come out as an icon, to come out as a legend, to come out as a proud Black man. I love you, Andre Leon Talley, and I know that if you have a chance to read the Chiffon Trenches, you will too.
Happy Black History Month. I'm Emil Wilbekin. I'm an award-winning editor, a culture creator, and the founder of Native Son. When I think about the books that really inspired me, I had to choose James Baldwin's Notes of a Native Son. It's his first book of nonfiction that was released over 65 years ago. In it, it was everything he talked about was important and really reigns true today. He talks about the issues of race, identity, colorism in Hollywood, and he even talks about the Black church. So I really found this book foundational in creating the movement, the community, and the platform that is Native Son, an organization created to inspire and empower Black gay men. And one of my favorite quotes from the book is, "I want to be an honest man and a great writer." And that reigns true for me.
Thank you, Bevy, and thank you, Emil. We want to take another moment at this time to give a shout out to our sponsors. Our sponsors for this program are Empire Blue Cross Blue Shield and the American Psychiatric Association Foundation. They have helped to make this event possible. We'd also like to thank our partners, Mount Sinai Icahn School of Medicine, and NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dr. Green, and thank you again to our sponsors and supporters. And one of our partners and supporters are the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which is the country's largest advocacy organization for individuals and families struggling with mental health conditions. We're thrilled to have the CEO of NAMI, who took time from his extremely busy schedule to be with us live today, Mr. Dan Gillison. Good morning, Dan. Dan has a wealth of leadership experiences and passion for mental health. He's especially passionate about reaching folks in communities of color to change the narrative of NAMI, to increase awareness about mental health, and to really promote the stories of resilience in our communities. He's also an avid photographer and uses photography as a way to capture stories as well. So Dan, we're so excited and turn it over to you to share some of your perspectives on stories.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hankerson and Dr. Green and Pastor Mike. I'm so blessed to be with you all on today. And as Dr. Green mentioned to me, just whatever's on your heart. So I want to start by first thanking you all for actually having this forum and having this discussion, because it's very important that we connect in this way. And as the African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So that's what this is all about today. And I would also say that the HOPE Center, Healing on Purpose and Achieving Balance, Wellness, and Wholeness, what you're doing is incredible. In terms of NAMI, and NAMI started by two moms, and there's no greater advocate for a person than a mom. And we really look at the five values in terms of our existence: fairness, compassion, empowerment, inclusion. And what I want to talk about is hope, because hope is what you want to bring to someone who is feeling hopeless. So it's all about that hope. In terms of our stories and what I've been listening to today, it takes me on. I saw the quote from Proverb. It takes me to the book of Matthew and the parable of talents. We are a resilient people. We are a people that believe in perseverance and fortitude and adaptability. And as I reflect back, the other thing that's on my heart is, sometimes we're on the treadmill of life and we're on that hamster wheel. We don't slow down for just some of the simple things that we can share with our young people. And what I mean by that is the simple things that we do on a daily basis when we put a slice of bread out and we spread peanut butter on it, Or we're walking with a loved one and we're crossing the street and that traffic light right there, or you put on your shoes, or you use this color monitor, or you get something from the grocery store that had to be transported by a refrigerated truck, or you give blood, or you go out to your mailbox, or you're on a flight and you have to put on an oxygen mask, or you go to the cabinet and you grab some potato chips. Those are some simple things. I can give you so much more, including wireless technology. What I'm speaking of is when I talk about resilience and the book of Matthew, these are inventors. These are Black inventors whose inventions we use on a daily basis. We access them. So where am I going to go now in terms of my comments? I'm ready. We're ready. Our tenacity, fortitude, and perseverance has us ready. I think the other thing I want to say is in terms of our young people, including ourselves, is that, as you see many of the books here, it's sometimes we judge a book by its cover, and we say, oh, that's going to be a great book, and then you don't know that it is a great book, and you get into the first, second chapter, and you see there's something there. Well, that's the other thing we do in terms of judging each other. We look at each other and we're judging the book by its cover. I would challenge us not to accept when you call a friend or even a young person, say, how are you doing? And they say, oh, I'm doing great. Say, no, how are you really doing? These times are giving us those challenges to really take that second question and say, how are you really doing? Let's not judge the book by its cover. We want the cover to be great, but we want to make sure the person is well. And I would say that with NAMI being in over 650 locations across the country, we care. And people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's where we stand on caring and giving back. And the other thing is that our audio matches our video with that. And what I mean by that is that 75% of our board has to be representative of lived experience. So we want to make sure that it's very tangible in terms of what we do in the communities. As the word talks about worthy, we all have that need and the desire to be worthy. So we have to make sure that we say to each other, you belong and I see you. That happened for me as a young man from Washington, D.C., who matriculated. J.R. McDonald is from Baton Rouge. I went to Baton Rouge to go to college, not knowing that I would actually go to college. My family didn't have the financial means for that to happen. My dad was a bookbinder, and as far as money in the 1970s, that was short. So luckily, unfortunately, I got to go to Baton Rouge and matriculate through Southern University. And while there, I want to talk about mentorship for a second as I wrap up. I mentioned something at the beginning about I see you and you belong. There were a few mentors along the way when I had self-doubt and when I was depressed that a professor said, I see you. I want you to meet my family. Come on over. It was more than just saying it. It was actually showing it. As a student leader in 1978, I got to go to Atlanta to represent the student body for the Dr. Martin Luther King Memorial activities. I walked into Ebenezer Baptist Church, knew no one, and was the youngest person there, of course. And I'm looking around, and all of a sudden this voice says, young man, may I help you? Well, tell me a little bit about yourself. That person was Daddy King. I told him I was there to give our condolences and our acknowledgement of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his son. And he said, come with me. He took me over to the house to introduce me to the family. And then he said, young man, are you here by yourself? I said, yes, sir. And he said, tomorrow I want you to sit between me and Dr. Benjamin Mays, Dr. King's mentor. So where am I going with this is that association matters. Belonging matters. Connections matter. What you do at the Hope Center, what you're doing today, and all of our body of work is tremendous. And we're building a tapestry here, and it will take all of us. And I would just say that it is wonderful to be with you all on today. I look forward to being connected to you in a more substantial way going forward. And NAMI appreciates everything that you do. And if there's anything that we can do, it is about that tapestry and being a part of that quilt. So thank you all for today.
Thank you so much, Dan. You hit on such great points. And we are looking forward to partnering with you, being part of the community and the tapestry that is Hope Center and FCBC. And thank you for hitting on such an important point about mentorship, because that allows us to transition into our next guest who will be joining us. As it relates to mentorship, I would actually not have my credentials as a doctor if it were not for this person. That person is Dr. Lausell Bryant. She is currently the head of the doctoral program at NYU, and also was recently named the MLK Faculty Recipients of the Year. So congratulations to Dr. Lausell Bryant. And now we'll take a few moments, kick it over to her, and hear what she has to share with us.
Hello, Hope family. It is good to be with you. I'm Dr. Lausell Bryant. I'm a clinical associate professor and director of the Doctorate in Social Work program at NYU's Silver School of Social Work. Happy to be with you. I'm going to share with you a little bit of a chapter that I contributed to this book, Latinx in Social Work, and hope that we can all take some lessons from it. All right, so I have had a 35-year career in social work, and I've had the opportunity to be recognized professionally and academically. Just a very short list. I've been, from a case planner to an associate commissioner to an executive director of a nonprofit youth services agency. I was the first person to get a college degree in my family, a master's and a PhD. I've been interviewed on TV and print media, have had a wonderful career. But I have to tell you that it feels like it's never enough. No matter what I achieve, I'm never done proving myself. It's like I can't rest. Taking care of myself feels like a luxury that's meant for others, but not for me. For me, it feels like self-indulgence or worse, laziness. And, today when I look at my 35 years in the field of social work, I'm proud, but I realize I have many lessons left to learn. I realize that I've been in the grip of an oppressed mindset, and I need to learn how to work to live rather than living to work. I want to live Audre Lorde's message that says, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. As I fight external forces of that oppressed mindset, I have a number of health challenges that stand as sad trophies of this struggle. I need to realize that what someone else thinks of me is not what makes me good. I need to recognize that I'm already enough. Our ancestors did what they needed to do to survive all of the hostilities they faced so that I would have the opportunities that I have. Now, maybe I can share my struggle and take in the strength of theirs and my hard-earned wisdom. And sharing it is one of the ways in which I can contribute to us breaking cycles. I need not prove that I'm good enough to anyone. And I recognize that caring for ourselves is fundamental to social justice. We cannot fight external oppressors while oppressing ourselves. And knowing this intellectually, well, that's one thing. Putting it into practice is a whole other struggle. And our profession also needs to get its act together, because social work thrives on that caring and compassion that we all bring to the work. And they expect miracles without resourcing us to get this transformative work done. That's something that needs to change. We can and we will change that. And I call on the next generation of social workers to try to bring change to that. My own daughter's about to become a social worker and graduate from social work school. And I hope that she and all of her colleagues in her generation will begin to break culture with normalizing an exploitative level of self-sacrifice in the name of service. And we are hardworking people, but we also are killing ourselves, and we need to change that. So part of the reason why I contributed this chapter to this book was recognizing that I could not be part of empowering the people I love if I was going to be broken down, destroyed, exhausted. And that I can be honest about my struggle and my journey in this way. I know I'm not alone in it, and that maybe we can all support each other to make that change and to honor and respect and love ourselves enough to care for ourselves. Each one of us, one at a time, we can begin to change this trajectory of caring so much that we kill ourselves. Let's keep caring, but let's remember to care for ourselves as well. Not just as well. Let's care for ourselves first so that we have more to give.
Powerful.
Wow.
Powerful.
Yes.
That's just a snippet of what I get all the time from Dr. Lausell Bryant. So thank you so much. Like many of our authors, you can make sure that you know more about their work, read their books, buy them, support them, support the work that we are doing here. And thank you for reminding us that self-care is at the heart and at the center of what we need to do.
You know, something that Dr. Bryant said just so resonated with me. She said, caring for ourselves is fundamental to social justice. Caring for ourselves. And the theme of our shirts, this Hope Center swag that Dr. Green and I are proudly wearing, really emphasizes one of the core values here at the Hope Center, which is worthy. We really want everyone to know that you are worthy to care for yourself. You are worthy of seeking services if you are struggling, and you are worthy of living the life that God has created you to lead. And so caring for ourselves, again, is really fundamental to social justice, and we are worthy of receipt of that care. So now we're really excited to turn it over to a champion of social justice, our very own Pastor Mike.
Hey, thank you again. Listen, this has been an amazing day thus far, and I have truly been inspired and am grateful for what you all have put together, Dr. Hankerson and Dr. Green, that we thank God for the honesty and the transparency that we've heard thus far. And my prayer is that this day and these stories, these narratives will inspire others along their journey. But listen, I have a pleasure now of doing something. I have the pleasure of introducing our next guest. Her name is Janae Marks. She is an acclaimed author. In fact, her latest book was voted best book by Parents Magazine. She is a graduate of the New School Masters in Fine Arts program with an emphasis in writing for children and young adults. Her book, I love it, From the Desk of Zoe Washington, is an amazing book written by someone who has clearly deep passion, profound interest and love for young people. She was voted for one of the top 40 under 40 in the state of Connecticut. And on top of all that she has done, she is the daughter of our very own Deacon Charles Powell of FCBC. So without further ado, let us hear from our sister this morning, Janae Marks.
Hello, everybody. My name is Janae Marks, and I'm a middle grade author. First, I want to thank the Hope Center for having me today. I'm always excited for the opportunity to talk about, books and why they're so important for us and our community. So the two books that I've written are From the Desk of Zoe Washington and A Soft Place to Land. I'm going to speak more about this one, which tells the story of 12-year-old Joy, who's obsessed with music scores, like the music you hear in the background of your favorite movies. And her big dream is to learn how to play the piano so she can one day compose her own. But in the very beginning of the book, she is dealing with a lot of change. Her dad recently lost his job. She and her family, her younger sister, have to move into an apartment across town, leaving her childhood home that she's lived in for her whole life. It's really tough on her. And on top of that, they can no longer afford those piano lessons that she feels very strongly about. And so she's just dealing with a lot of change, which I'm sure a lot of you might relate to because we're all dealing with a lot of change right now. So basically in this building, she ends up making a friend who introduces her to a secret hideout. And that's where she kind of discovers a mystery because she starts out by writing on the walls with somebody, where all the kids are doodling on the walls with somebody who's, been writing messages, and she starts responding to those messages, and she could tell that they're also going through something tough. And in these back and forth exchanges they start to make on the walls anonymously, Joy starts to find comfort in that, because it's always so great to know that somebody else is going through something tough. You're not alone. But then this person stops writing back. So then the rest of the story is sort of a mystery as she tries to figure out who she's been speaking to, what other kid in the building, and also make sure that they're okay. And sort of the inspiration behind this book came from personal experience. I went through a similar move as Joy when I was a teenager, and it was really hard on me. My family sold my house, and I moved with my mom into an apartment across town, and it really was a big adjustment. And so I kind of wanted to write a story where I am, sharing those same kind of feelings, putting myself into a book. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I like writing for kids, is because I remember how much books meant to me as a child, how much being able to see my experience in a book, even if it's not exactly the same, something similar in a book would bring me so much hope, about my own situation. And so that's what I hope that readers get out of Joy's story. And I also hope they receive joy out of it as well, because there's also a lot of really fun moments in this story. And then how the book relates to the community at large, I just really, again, as I said earlier, so many of us are dealing with change. A lot of kids, school feels very, uncertain how you're attending school. People's jobs are uncertain with the pandemic. People's home situations are uncertain. And I think, it's just really tough. And I hope that, books like this is a way that you can connect with each other. You can read about similar experiences of your own, and then, talk to your neighbors, your friends, your teachers, your parents about these same kind of experiences. And so that's what I sort of hope that everybody will get out of Joy's story, and that parents and teachers and kids will enjoy reading the story together. So again, thank you so much to the Hope Center for inviting me and letting me talk about how important stories are for our community. And thank you so much. Again, I'm Janae Marks, and I'll hope to see you soon. Bye.
Thanks, Janae. Please look out for more work from Janae. I know that she has a book coming out in 2023. And you'll be able to get all the information about all the books from our authors and from all of our guests and speakers today towards the end of the program. So now, I'd like to introduce someone coming live from the FCBC stage, and that is Jamal Joseph. He is a writer, director, producer, poet, activist, and educator. Jamal, let us know what you have to share with us today.
Hi, my name is Jamal Joseph, professor at Columbia University, artist, activist, and author. I'm so happy to be here for the Hope Center Black History Month celebration, the power of our stories. I decided to tell my story in the form of a book. The name of the book is Panther Baby, and it's my memoir. And it's the story of me being the youngest member of the Black Panther Party in Harlem. I joined when I was 15, and at 16, I was arrested as part of a case known as the Panther 21, the New York Panther 21 case. Afeni Shakur was part of that case. And from the time I walked into the Panther office until she passed away, Afeni was my mentor, my big sister, and the most dynamic Black woman and leader that I've ever known. And it was the inspiration for another book that I wrote called Tupac Legacy, which is about Tupac Shakur, Afeni's son, and Tupac was my godson. They were both Harlemites. And so there are Harlem stories as well as national and international stories. They both are stories of inspiration, of people believing not only in themselves, but in their community and in the power of unity and love and progress. Books are a great way to tell stories. I'm a filmmaker, also a theater director, a public speaker, but there's something about the power of a book that allows you to hold it, to own it, and to read the story again and again, and really be involved in the characters and the imagination and in the message of the book. If there were things I would say to the next generation of writers and artists and just young people in general, understand the great power of love. In the Panthers, we had a 10-point program that talked about housing, police brutality, health, education, but our guiding principle was to have an undying love for the community and for the people. Love the community, love yourselves, be resilient, Don't let people turn you away. Be consistent in what you do. Work at it each and every day. Believe each and every day. Dream each and every day. Work hard towards your dreams each and every day. Count them as already being real. And wrap that all up in a package, in the armor, in the beauty, in the power of love.
Wow, what a powerful message from Dr. Joseph. And I wrote down, the undying love for the community. That was such a powerful message. Next, we have someone who has done a lot of research about resilience, Dr. Dennis Charney, who is the Dean of the Medical School at Mount Sinai School of Medicine. In addition to understanding and asking questions like how do people become resilient, how do communities become resilient, he worked with Howard University to address specific factors of resilience in the Black community. And then in his personal life, he was struck with tragedies that made him think about resilience on a personal level. So next, Dr. Charney.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dennis Charney. I'm a physician. My position is I'm the Dean of the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. I've been doing this job for the last 15 years. But what I'm going to talk about today is resilience and my story about resilience. I started studying resilience about 30 years ago. I was then focusing on understanding the causes of depression and post-traumatic stress disorder, other anxiety problems. And I wanted to figure out how to come up with better treatments for those conditions. And so I thought, with my colleague, Stephen Southwick, that if we can study people and learn from people who are resilient, in other words, they had faced traumas in their life, obstacles to overcome, and came out the other side stronger in many cases, overcame issues related to depression and substance abuse and anxiety, that we could learn from them. And that might ultimately help us develop better treatments for patients. So it's been quite a journey. We have ended up learning from all sorts of resilient people, from every socioeconomic position, every ethnic group you can think of. People from all different countries face different traumas, ranging from being born with a congenital disease to facing issues related to rape and physical abuse, natural disasters, and so on and so forth. Hundreds, if not thousands of people we learn from. So, based on that work, we began to understand that there were certain factors related to becoming a resilient person. In fact, we've written a book about this called Resilience, the Science of Mastering Life's Greatest Challenges. Now, in terms of my own, personal situation, I had never really faced enormous challenges in my life. I grew up in a loving family. I was a young man during the Vietnam War, but never went to Vietnam because I was in college and medical school. So while I was studying resilience, I was never positive if I was a resilient person myself. But I ultimately learned a lot about myself because about 5.5 years ago, I was the victim of a violent crime, a shooting. It turns out that a faculty member at Mount Sinai that we had terminated because of issues related to scientific misconduct tracked me down in my hometown in Chappaqua, New York, in Westchester. And from about 30 feet, he shot me with a shotgun. And luckily, I was hit over the right side here with about 15 pellets, but it missed vital organs. It missed blood vessels in which I could have bled to death. But it was a serious trauma. Before I finish this, there's one other little vignette that I thought I should say. First, when I was shot, I was coming out of the local delicatessen, as I mentioned, and all of a sudden I heard a loud boom, and I looked at my shoulder and there was blood gushing out. And that was never in my life's plan. It was sudden, unexpected. Never thought this would happen to me. So unexpected things, can happen in terms of trauma and challenges. And one other thing that has been important to me is that I felt very early on after I was shot that I was ready to forgive my assailant. particularly if he came to the realization while he's in prison, which he is, that he had made a mistake, that he wanted forgiveness. Very early on, I was ready to forgive, and I still am. I think forgiveness is a very important part of being a resilient person. While on the other hand, hatred is a burden that none of us should bear. I just wanted to share that with you. And again, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Charney, for sharing your story with us. We thank God that you are alive. We thank God for your ability to forgive. And we thank God that you continue the work around resilience and continue to share your story to empower others.
That was so powerful. Not only did he experience his own trauma, he focused on forgiveness as a way to heal and recover.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We'd like to transition now to invite someone to come up. It's someone that you've all been waiting for. So we know and are grateful for Pastor Mike being here. We know that he has shared many stories with us from the pulpit. But many of you may not know that he is also a writer.
Can't wait to hear what you have to say, Pastor Mike. We always love your words and your wisdom. So the floor is yours.
Man, look, I feel like there's not much I need to add today because all of our guests, all of our speakers have poured into us, have sharpened us in ways that we may not be fully aware of until after this moment. And so I just want to thank Dr. Green and Dr. Hankerson for hosting today. And again, a big thanks to all of the speakers today. The power of stories. You know, stories. Well, one of my favorite authors died towards the end of last year. Her name was Joan Didion. And she has a line and she says, "We tell stories in order to live. We tell stories in order to live. Stories give life. Our stories give birth. Our stories create community. Our stories inspire change. The capacity to share, the capacity to be transparent, the capacity to be vulnerable actually liberates others who are fearful and feel uncomfortable sharing their stories. Hearing of the stories today, stories of addiction, stories of a trauma, stories of self-care, stories of overcoming are the things and the kind of stories that loose the tongues of those who have felt inhibited and in many ways deterred from sharing their story, thinking that somehow their words, their narrative has no value. All of us have stories to tell. All of us have a story that gives life. And it's not whether or not we have a story to tell. The real challenge is whether or not we gain the courage and the confidence to share our story. Sean Dove earlier quoted Maya Angelou, and it's worth repeating. She said, "There's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. And when you hold that story in, it is as if your soul, your spirit groans for release. And the day you release that story that is inside of you, it is as if it is a new birthing. It is a debut of a part of yourself that maybe has gone hidden because of fear of sharing the story. I thank God for the stories that have shaped my life. I thank God for the people who have shaped my life. I thank God for the persons who poured into me and have given beautiful nuances and created an amazing mosaic in my own personal narrative. You know, many people have been asking me about writing, and actually I just finished a manuscript, a book, and it will be coming out, according to the publishers, in spring of 2023. The title of the book is called Searching for Agabus, Finding Your Way to Anonymity and Authenticity. And I chose that to write because in this moment right now, there's so many of us who are tempted to not see the value and the worth in our personal narratives because we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people, thinking that somehow we're not significant enough on our own accord. We're not worthy enough on our own accord. We're not valuable enough on our own accord. There's a line from the book I want to share. I actually posted it on social media last week, but it said, "Losing yourself is a hefty price to pay while seeking validation from people who are not even paying attention to you. It's time to love and nurture yourself to wholeness." I'll say that again. Losing yourself is too hefty a price to pay while seeking validation from people who are not paying attention to you. Think about that. Think about the kind of emotional and physical and psychological contortions we go through in order to impress, in order to gain attention, in order to be validated, in order to be affirmed by others, only to find out that the very people and spaces and places we may be seeking validation in may not actually even be paying attention to us. And in this moment, where it seems as though culturally we are intoxicated with celebrity culture, and fame and materialism and consumerism, we've lost a sense of ourselves trying to garner attention, again, from people who may not even be paying attention. And so the real beauty in the moment is, can you enter a journey of self-discovery? Can you find your way to yourself in such a way that honors the beauty and significance and uniqueness of who you are, so much so that you then do not find yourself on a perilous journey away from you, trying to be validated by other people and lose a sense of who you are. Your story matters. Your story matters. Your story matters. And many times, as Dr. Carter shared, and even as Dr. Charney shared, we feel ashamed of the traumas we experience. We are ashamed sometimes of the fragility of our humanity, not realizing that beneath that feeling of shame is an indomitable strength that undergirds who we are. We are stronger than we think we are. We are wiser than we think we are. We are better than we think we are. We are not just enough. We are more than enough. And we are so much of the best of who we are that sometimes the best way to show up in this world is just be you unapologetically. And maybe being yourself unapologetically is the most rebellious thing you can do in a world that is content with pretentiousness and fraudulence. Your story matters. Who you are matters. And today I pray that these stories you've heard will inspire you to share your story. It is not about exhibitionism, but it's about knowing that your story connects to other stories that connect to other stories that connect to other stories. And pretty soon, in sharing our stories, we find community, we build community, and also we realize that we've always been resilient. When we share that story and we become the things that we share, we realize that we have always been resilient. And so today, beloved, realize that the road ahead of us is challenging. We are in some difficult times, but the way we navigate this moment is by understanding that we are all in this together. We are all in this journey together, that we are connected in ways that we cannot fully express, because at the end of the day, there is a beautiful mystery about our humanity that is yet to unfold, and we participate in that mystery unknowingly every single day. Every day. There's work to do. There's stories to tell. There's a mission to fulfill. There's a calling on our lives. And I end with this, something I learned my freshman year at Morehouse College. We are not here to play, to dream, to drift. We have hard work to do and loads to lift. Shun not the struggle, for it is God's gift. Be strong, my brother. Be strong, my sister. Be strong in this season. And most of all, tell your story. Much love, peace, and many blessings.
Wow. I mean, thank you as always, Pastor Mike.
Yeah. Your story matters. Your story matters. Your story matters. So let those words that Pastor Mike shared with you reverberate in your mind, in your soul, in your spirit, and remember that you are uniquely made and have something powerful to share that is uniquely yours.
And as we're here today at the Hope Center, it was really Pastor Mike's transparency, his vision, and his willingness to share his story of coping with a chronic medical condition, to share his story that led to the creation of the Hope Center, where people in Harlem are able to share their story and get hope and get healed.
That's right. And one of the ways that we share that are with some of the words that you've been seeing on the screen, some of the words that our authors and our speakers have shared with you today. And that is also worthy. That's right. So we have plenty of merch at the Hope Center, and we hope that you will check us out and make sure that you can support the work that we are doing here.
And now we are delighted to have a youth performance. We're going to turn it over to Amaya Anderson.
All right.
Martin Luther King Jr., the person who helped us earn more rights. He never used his fists, but he put up a fight. He plays a huge role in our history because he had a dream. He is the reason why Black people have more self-esteem. They will never understand our pain, judging us by our color, assuming we only have half of a brain. Our energy is what they're trying to drain. We have separated ourselves from the chains. Instead, we're singing Candy Rain, and they can keep their food because it's plain. But I'm tired of playing this game because towards me is where their gun will always aim. It feels like I'm being framed for a crime I didn't commit, like being punched in the face by someone I didn't hit. When will they admit that they have the privilege, but we contain the power, and we will bloom like beautiful flowers? Our melanin is our superpower. We are way more than our history, because no matter how long this fight takes, we will always end in victory.
Thank you, Amaya. And we now have some winners that we would like to congratulate who are the recipients of our Hope Box. And those winners are Ruthie Tuitt, Tracy Bing, and Trevon Ova. And then for our additional winners that I think are going to receive some Hope Center merch include Deborah Walker. And I think we may have one or two more folks. Let's see if we can get that dropped in the chat. Dr. Henderson, while we're waiting for that, what are your thoughts on today's program?
Today's program has just been amazing. I mean, in a word, hearing everyone's stories, hearing their perspectives, hearing the resilience of our community, it's been amazing. And in the words of President Obama, I'm fired up and ready to go.
All right, fired up and ready to go. So if you've heard your name thus far, we would like for you to email us at info@hopecenterharlem.org. Again, that email address is info@hopecenterharlem.org, and you will receive information on how to retrieve your winnings. All right. So again, those names are Ruthie Tuitt, Tracy Bing, Trevon Ova, as well as Deborah Walker and Kawanda Simmons Pryor. Congratulations. Well, we are at the end of our program, and so we'd like to say thank you all for joining us today. And thanks again to our authors, our sponsors, and our supporters.
And I'd like to publicly say thank you, Dr. Green, for your vision, for your leadership, for your passion to cast your vision for this program. It has been absolutely phenomenal and always a joy to work with you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Hankerson. Thank you for being my mentor, my friend, and just supporting all the work that the Hope Center does.
Absolutely.
All right. So we'd like to say thank you in unity,
in love,
in purpose, and in hope. Happy Black History Month.